Boys, welcome. It's a very big episode. It's a very hyped episode. It's the Premier League 24-25 season is upon us. Starts in 2 days from this episode releasing. And as we're gonna hopefully make an annual tradition, we're gonna be predicting the top 20 table. And I'm just so excited, honestly, just because I can't wait to get everyone's thoughts on what everyone thinks. Armand's gonna probably have some sort of bullshit on there. I can't wait to call him out on it. Keon's probably gonna come from a clinical view, will make me hate my rankings. Boys, before we show the sheet and do just like get right into it, do we have anything else to say?
No.
That's
I
great.
think I'm ready to roll.
Let's rolled. Okay, let's. So here's the format we're gonna go for. Just for the listeners, we're gonna first reveal the relegation teams that we are having. Gonna talk about it. It's always good to talk about which three teams won't be in the Prem after this season. Then we'll probably go through most of the mid-table teams. We'll go 17 to 11. I think, these are going to be the most volatile teams. They can kind of finish anywhere. There's going to be like stuff we can talk about, like those 17 spot. Maybe they're fighting closely to not be relegated. Then after that, we'll go a little bit slower. We'll go 10 through 8. Then we're going to get into those European competition spots. We're going to go 7, the Conference League, Chelsea type teams in there. Then we're going to do Europa League, 6, 5, and then the juicy matter. We're gonna go four, three, two, one. The Champions League spots, the eventual winners this year. Who knows what we all have? So, boys, are we ready to rumble? So the first column is gonna be Armand, then it's gonna be me, then it's gonna be Keon. This alphabetical order that way. So, boys, I'm gonna reveal A3 1920. Are we good to go? Okay, here
Yep.
we go. We're gonna reveal. Here we are. Okay, I we all have the same three teams getting relegated.
Dang, I thought I was being a little different with Nottingham.
Okay. Armand, how about you go first? You go first. Tell us about your. So, just for clarifications, the three teams that got promoted this year were Ipswich, Southampton, and then Leicester. So you have Leicester not being relegated instead Nottingham Forest, who barely made it out last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think Southampton hasn't made any big signings. Also, a really young team. I don't think they're gonna be able to keep up with the Premier League. Same with Ipswich Town. I really like their manager, but again, incomings, just like other than Amari Hutchinson, and also I haven't watched too much of them, so I can't say. But I just don't think again with the Premier League quality they're gonna be able to keep up. And with Nottingham Forest, I was debating between them and two other teams. You always have those bottom feeders like Everton been scrapping relegation. But for me, Nottingham hasn't made any signings. They have had a lot of outgoings of players that, we're not regular stars, but, we're in the squad. And again, I think they have good players. I think Morgan Gibbs White's really talented. I like Awanyu, Chris Wood. I think they have really solid pieces. But I mean, with the lack of incomings, and especially with how competitive the Prem is this year, I mean, you look at some of the mid-table teams, like, the teams that they are going to be competing with in those 17, 16, 15 spots have brought in. Compared to their squad, I just think they've lost a lot. They haven't been able to recoup, and I just think this is the year that they're going to go down. And they've been scrapping relegation for a very long time. I think the
Yeah.
last 2 years. I remember 2022, they beat Arsenal. That was to save them from relegation. That was
Yeah.
like the second week of the season. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've been
That
battling relegation. I mean,
was a
they're a
bad
good squad.
loss
They're
for
a tough
you.
squad. I mean, Nottingham's a tough place to play, which always helps teams that are like, especially with Everton, like Goodison Parks. But I just think it's Nottingham's time to go down. But yeah, that's just my reason. I just think compared to other teams that they'll be competing with for those relegation spots, they just haven't had any incomings to make me feel confident that they'll stay up.
Yeah. Keanu, how about you? Yeah. What are you thinking?
I don't have much to add to that. I honestly they've
Yeah.
just been everything Armand said was enough. I don't think we need to I think we
So
can
we
gloss
have
over
no
the rest,
belief.
but
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Nottingham Forest barely. I don't even remember how many points they like barely survived relegation from last season. They finished 17th.
there were a few points above. There wasn't as exciting of a relegation battle last season, which was disappointing. Luton had a small chance, but it never was like there was never like too much confidence that they
Yeah.
were gonna like get that last spot in the
But
Prem
but we really
and stay up.
I think a lot of people are saying well, I mean Leicester. Okay, well Leicester in 2015 won the Prem. now they're
Yeah.
coming back into the Prem after being relegated last season, and we're all predicting that they're not going to get relegated this year. I think a lot of people would say they would get relegated again this year. I mean, they're going to be probably the next things reveal. But why do we think a team like Nottingham or Southampton is going to go down instead of Leicester? If anyone has any thoughts.
Like Leicester has Premier League proven players on their team still. Jamie Vardy.
Hey,
I
they
mean,
went
they
down
brought
last
in
year because I
Buonanotte.
mean, it went down 2 years ago because even though they had like I'd say even a better roster 2 years ago, no?
Happens. But anyways, they got in Buonanotte and Decadova Reed to replace Dewsbury Hall as well.
Wow.
I just think they've, even with the loss of Dewsbury Hall, which is a big loss, I just think out of both the squads that come up, or all the three squads that were promoted, they have the most Premier League players that played in the Prem before. I think that's going to benefit them a lot. And I mean, they did win the the championship after all. So I think they're in a decent spot to stay up. And I just think Nottingham Forest is a weak side overall, and that's why I just think Nottingham Forest is a weak side. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like people like so quick to put Leicester back into their like top 14, 13, 12 and really like cement them as mid-table, but I don't even think I'm not giving Leicester the clear. Like I think they're right there at the bottom with Nottingham and maybe a couple other clubs we'll talk about in a sec.
Hmm.
I think they could get relegated. I really do.
Yeah.
I like them a little bit more than Forest right now, and my opinion could change as the first like week or two of the season goes by. It's kind of hard to do preseason predictions, but
For
it's
sure.
all for good fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we all agree on Ipswich and Southampton and Forest, which is funny.
Man, yeah.
But
Last thing
yeah,
I'll say is I really wish Ipswich could just stay. Like what a scrappy, like a cool story for you guys is when in college, I took a history of soccer class, and when everyone would ask the professor who his favorite team was, he said Ipswich Town. Has anyone heard of them? And they were, I think, below the championship at that point. This was years and years ago, and they're like, "Oh, one day we'll see the Prem," and now they're in the Prem. So I think of him. Shout out to the professor. Every time I think of Ipswich, I would love. I just know, even though Ipswich probably is going to get relegated, they're going to cause some sort of mayhem. They're going to beat some top six team to like ruin their Champions League hopes or something, and I can't wait for that this season. I can't wait to talk about it then. Anyway, cool. So it's a little bit disappointing we all had the same teams being relegated, but in a different order. But that means we're all on the same page. But I think in the next, so I'm gonna reveal 17 through 11. We good with that, boys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
that's okay. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Revealing now. Okay, okay. So okay, wow,
Dang,
that
you
is.
are high on Brian this year, dude. Oh my goodness.
I am.
Crystal Palace Crystal Palace is being disrespected.
Uh,
16 or 15.
I didn't think they were going to keep Eze. I still am not really sure they're going to keep Eze. There's
Ooh,
rumors to
Brentford.
Spurs,
Yeah, that's
City, Chelsea.
Olivier Glasnar. You saw how good they were when they appointed him. I think he's going to keep the momentum.
No, I definitely will bump them up if Eze doesn't leave.
As
I'm under the belief that he's still going to leave. I'm leaning
I
that
think
way,
leaves.
but
If
I
he
think
leaves,
it's close now.
yeah. I will say
I think
we're
if he
being.
leaves,
I will say
I'll
we're
drop
being.
the.
Sorry, just to interrupt. I will say we're being a bad audio pod right now because not everyone can see this. Some people might be just listening. So just for the audio listeners, I will say. Okay, Armand has Leicester at 17, then Everton at 16, Brentford at 15, Bournemouth at 14, Wolves at 13, Fulham at 12, then Brighton at 11. I have Leicester at 17, Brentford at 16, Everton at 15, Bournemouth at 14, Wolves at 13, Fulham at 12 as well. Armand, you and I have 12 through 15, almost the same. And then at 11, I have Crystal Palace. Then Keon has Brentford at 17, then Leicester City at 16, Crystal Palace at 15, Bournemouth at 14, Fulham at 13, Wolves at 12, and then Everton at 11. So that's for the audio listeners. What jumps out to you most, Armand? I mean, for me, Brighton at
I think.
11 jumps out for me a little
Yeah.
bit.
I think
Um,
Everton's too.
yeah, Everton is. We all. Oh, what jumps out for Keon for me? Yeah, he has Everton at 11, which is interesting. But yeah, Arman, explain your rankings a little bit.
Mine. I think Brentford, Everton, and Leicester are going to be in kind of a relegation scrap. Depending, I think Brentford will probably be just above it if Tony stays. I know also they have the better coach with Thomas Frank, but I think Everton, Leicester, and Nottingham are going to be those three teams competing for that last relegation spot. Again, Everton lost Onana. Branthwaite will probably stay, but he's also been rumored to leave. Probably not anymore because United signed Delict. But I think Everton not replacing Onana is going to be a huge loss to them. That's a big controller in the midfield they lost, especially he's just a beast, just eats up so much ground. That's going to be that's going to be a big miss for them. And like Leicester, kind of like he said, they have the most, like I said, compared to the squads that came up, a lot of Premier League players, but again, not a lot of talent compared to these other teams. Bournemouth, I have it ahead at 14. Losing Solanke is huge, but signing Sinisterra and Araujo to strengthen their defense and wing attack is huge as well. And Solanke was like the third or fourth highest goal scoring striker last year, but Bournemouth has placed mid table as well when he's scored 5 or 6 goals in a season. He doesn't have the best goal scoring record either. He had a big year last year, but I think Bournemouth will be just fine. And yeah, just compared to Brentford, Brentford and Bournemouth could be interchangeable for me. 13, I have Wolverhampton. Rate Gary O'Neill as a coach. They lost 2 big players though, in Neto and Kilman. Kilman, their captain, I believe. But I don't think losing Neto hurts them as much, considering how injured he was last year. So that's why I think Wolverhampton will be above both Bournemouth and Brentford at the 13 spot. At 12, I have Fulham. Love their business they did getting an ESR and Sessegnon from Tottenham, but losing Polina, Tosin, and Reed is huge, especially Polina in that CDM position. That's a huge loss for them because he was probably one of the most coveted sixes. He's at Bayern now, but it was rumored he was going to go to Arsenal and all these other big clubs. It's a big loss, and they haven't really replaced him. But in preseason, they've looked really good. ESR has been a great signing for them. So I think he'll be a tough one to break as well. But I think I have them sitting at 12th, and then at 11th I have Brighton. Last year, was injury ridden, so they had a terrible year last year, especially after gaining what's it called? They were in Europa League, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Europa League
Yes.
football, but they had a lot of injuries. Again, not made any signings so far that that really stand out to me. Maybe I'm being a bit low on them compared to I do have Crystal Palace out of them, obviously, but I don't know. I think losing De Zerbi is a big loss, and especially under new coaches, it is there's a little bit of a little lapse in terms of getting everything clicking, but so that's why, just due to that coaching change of losing De Zerbi, I think I have Brighton finishing 11th, just below Crystal Palace. But again, for me, I think 15 through 10 is or 14 through 10 is very interchangeable. I wouldn't be surprised if they're separated a couple points, but it was just hard. But yeah, that's just my reasoning for my rankings.
You and me, we have Fulham, Wolves, Bournemouth at the same spots. Basically, I basically will echo what you said. I really can't add much. I will quickly say about Leicester. Well, Brentford. Yeah, Brentford's not a good team. I of course think honestly, I really think this might have gone under the radar, but for me, I think Carvalho, I forgot how you say his name. The Liverpool lad, the youngster for us, he was playing really well in the preseason. He's played well for us before, and then now Brentford got him. I really do think he'll make a difference there. And even though they're not going to be like a top 10 team, I think they're definitely going to have. They're going to be it's going to be a really tough day. Any those noon games against Brentford at Brentford. Honestly, a Saturday, especially when the Champions League starts, I think we really need to keep. I think Arsenal, City, Liverpool, uh, all these teams maybe fighting for a Champions League spot need to keep an eye out for. Um, and Leicester, even though they got players in loan, I like Bonanote and stuff. I don't they're not it's just yeah, they just got promoted even though they did really well in the championship. It's the Prem. I think it's one of the most competitive years in the Prem. There's so many the top 10 teams we're going to talk about are going to be so interchangeable as well a bit. But yeah, um, I will say I think yeah, Crystal Palace. I'll let Keon explain more. He disrespected them a little bit more than I did. But Crystal Palace is always just such a dangerous team. They have so much pace up front, but I don't. I think with the amount of talent in the top 10 this year, that they're not going to be a top 10 team. So yeah, that's all I'll say. Keon, how about you?
Yeah. So I'm gonna start from my
Yeah.
17 as well. So for me, like Brentford I was different from you guys in that I put Brentford here, and you guys both had Leicester. I think Brentford's like for as of right now, I think they're the next closest to relegation. I honestly think like it largely like hinges on if Ivan Toney
hmm
leaves or not.
hmm
So if he leaves, like I might
Oh, then
even
for
bump them
sure.
below Forest. I don't love their team. I I think if they stay healthy, they'll prove me wrong completely. I really do. But like they always have a couple injuries. Their new signing Tiago's out until late 2024 from his meniscus tear. He just had surgery on his meniscus. So they're just like I nothing is looking really great about them. I don't know if they're cursed or if they're just uh, if their time has come. They had a nice little Premier League stint this last I want to say few seasons now. Um, I don't know. I think they're the next closest for me as of right now. And then I put Leicester next. I think Leicester in 16th. Losing Dewsbury Hall is big. He should be good for Chelsea. They could be good enough to stay up, but it also could be close. I have them in 16th right now. I think that's fair. Crystal Palace, I put them really low compared to you guys, and I think it's a little unfair. 15th is a little low for them. That they were great last season, they really were. Their coach that took over, Glasner, was amazing. Like he transformed them into like this goal scoring machine and made Mateta, Olise look really good. But you know what? Olise is a huge loss for them. I think Eze could be next, and that's why I put them down here. Um, you know what? If they do lose Eze and they spend that Elise and Eze money on some players that'll help them now, I still think they should be higher than this spot. I definitely think I ranked them a little bit low, but um, I'm kind of like I put them here due to the loss of their two best players and potential loss of Eze. I mean, and their lack of signings this summer. Bournemouth, I put in 14th. I'm excited about their new signings, especially Hodgson. Solanke leaving is a huge loss for them. He was excellent last year. I don't even know if he would have like been as good this season as he was last year, because last year was truly something else for a team that's like pretty firmly mid-table as Bournemouth is. Um, so that's like a huge loss for them, and I'm not sure if they're going to reinvest the funds immediately, but I still might have underrated them there because they have made some like smaller signings here and there, and their team is still decent. Like it's definitely Premier League proven. I don't think they have to worry about relegation this year. That's the first team I feel pretty good about saying that about. Um, I have Fulham in 13th. I actually, you know what? If they didn't sign Emil Smith Rowe, I'd probably have them below Bournemouth, and I'd probably say I'm not super confident in them. But Smith Rowe is a great signing for them. I think he's going to be great and healthy this year. I really do. I'm rooting him on, and I love his kinship with Iwobi and Leno, the former Arsenal guys. But losing Paulina is huge. I don't know, like that was like such a big loss. He kind of forced his way out. They got a decent fee for him though. So hopefully they can use that money for Emil Smith Rowe and maybe some other signings in the near future. Wolverhampton I put in 12th. You could say it's a little high for them, but I like them. I know they lost Pedro Neto to Chelsea and Kilman to West Ham, but they're like they've had some sneaky under the nose summer signings, and I know they're usually like they're usually signing guys from the Portuguese clubs, but they actually signed a guy from City who could be decent for them. And honestly, like there's a lot of business left for them this window. I was looking at their transfer market, and they have like a ton of like young players and players kind of like coming back from loan that they need to decide what to do with them. Like they're gonna have to sell a bunch of players before the window closes, or I don't know, or send them back out on loan, I guess. But yeah, they have a lot of like business to finish up with some mid players. But I put Everton in 11th, which is higher than you guys. I think you
Yeah.
guys acknowledge that. I am going to read directly from my notes. I said, Look alive, Everton. You're on the rise. A few good signings, fortifying their midfield and defense this summer after getting a good fee for Onana. Dyke ball is being served hot this season. Wait, it's Sean Dyche? Dyche?
Yeah.
Dyche? Dyche ball is being served hot this season. I honestly, I like their coach. I think he's at least like Premier League level, and I think he's done some good things there, and they've made some good signings in the last couple of windows. They made a few signings to fortify their midfield and defense, and Onana's loss is big, but I do see them getting better just with coaching and developing some of their young players, because they do have a couple of young talents that look like they're ready to they're knocking on that door.
Yeah.
And that's my 11 through 17.
Okay.
Are we ready to reveal the next set?
Yeah. I think we're doing 10 through 8, right? Just before the Conference League teams.
Yeah, let's do 10 through 8.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Here we are. Oh,
you have no idea. You have no idea how much higher I wanted to put Brighton.
Oh my
and West Ham.
goodness. Oh my
I couldn't.
This is juicy. This is juicy, guys. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Oh, Jay put Brighton higher than me. Okay, so just for the audio listeners, we got Armand. Crystal Palace is in 10th for Armand. 9 Newcastle, 8 Chelsea. For Jay, we got 10 West Ham, 9 Brighton, 8 Aston Villa. And for myself, I put 10 Brighton, 9 West Ham, 8 Chelsea. So it looks like Armand and I agree on Chelsea being in 8th. It looks like Jay and I put Brighton around the same spot. 9th for Jay, 10th for me.
It was just
West Ham around the same spot. 9th for me, 10th for Jay. And Armand looks pretty low on Newcastle, but he is pretty high on Crystal Palace. So let's get into it. Armand, you want to talk about your 10 through 8?
Yeah, Crystal Palace, I have a 10 because I rate their manager heavily. I think Sarr coming back into the Prem after he was at Watford. I don't know if you remember, but he did end Liverpool's hopes of being unbeaten back in 2020. So I mean, he's
all right. So we're bringing up something 4 years ago. All right.
But I think Glasner, I mean, when he came into the Prem, only 3 teams had earned more points than him. So I think he set up Crystal Palace. I think if Eze and Guehi stay, I mean, I think 10's a suitable spot for them. Obviously, if one of those guys leaves, they'll drop a little bit. Now I have Newcastle. I mean, I changed this a lot today. I mean, I had Newcastle all the way as high as 4th. But I put them in 9th just because, they're having problems with, FFP or whatever it is. I forgot. I was listening to a podcast about it, but they have no incomings. I mean, sure, getting Tonali back is pretty much like a new signing, and they were obviously injury ridden last year and finished higher than 9th. But Botman's going to be out to start the year as well, and it's just with no new signings as well to to combat. You were injured last year, and obviously maybe spending some money on depth, which you haven't done at all, and with the big problems with FFP, I just struggle to see Newcastle higher. I mean, I don't struggle. I just think teams like Aston Villa, West Ham, that have really had such strong transfer windows and have really bolstered their depth as well, especially Aston Villa, who's playing Champions League football. I just think Newcastle's going to struggle. Not struggle this year, but I just don't think they'll be as high as they'd like to, especially with the lack of incomings. I mean, I really rate their start. I think their starting 11's as strong as they could compete for the top 4. But, when you're going to be playing FA Cup games midweek and EFL Cup games midweek, I mean, thankfully they don't have European football, but it is going to take a toll on their players. And I still think they're going to have to – and there's still rumors about, Isak or Bruno G leaving. I mean, not as loud as they used to be, but, I mean, they're just the lack of incomings is why I have Newcastle so low. But I wouldn't be surprised if they prove me wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if there's top 4 in a European spot. You guys understand my reasoning as we get up. In 8th, I have Chelsea. And if Chelsea would have kept Pochettino, I would have had Chelsea in a Champions League spot. But I'm a big believer in continuity, and I don't think changing your manager changes issues. I mean, Enzo, he looked great at Leicester, and in the preseason, Chelsea have looked like shit, to be honest. And you're bringing in 30, all these new players, but I don't really understand what these new players, what issues these new players fix. They have a lack of a goal-scoring striker, so what do? They buy Pedro Neto. He's a great winger, amazing, wanted by Arsenal. But, I mean, like injury histories there. I mean, he's a great player when he's healthy, but does that mean Cole Palmer's not starting? I mean, you already have Raheem Sterling, Mudryk that you spent 150. Like you have all those players. Like who does he displace, right? I mean, a lot of the signings just make no sense. I mean, and I think their biggest loss is Thiago Silva, who even at 39, you could argue is probably one of their best players. I mean, in terms of maturity and everything. I mean, there's also a lot of problems going around with the, Fofana and everything. There's a lot of, I don't know the opposite of cohesion, but whatever it is, that's what's happening at Chelsea right now. I think a lot of things have to go right for them to finish in a European spot. And I know they have Conference League, but I just because I don't what I've seen in the preseason I don't like, and I you have 46 first team players. It's insane to me. Um, I just struggle to see what any of these guys have bought. It doesn't seem that there's a real identity at Chelsea either, and I think they can finish higher just on the sole fact that their individual talent is probably on par with City and Arsenal in terms of the talent they have on their team is insane. But in terms of bringing it together as one team, I just struggle to see them doing it consistently. I wouldn't be surprised if their coach is gone by December, and I just I think other than Cole Palmer, a lot has to go right for this. A lot has to go right for this team to finish a European spot. And I just think with the business that other teams have done, I just don't see it happening. That's why I have Chelsea at 8.
Dang.
Bro, I stutter when I think about Chelsea too, Armand. So I don't
Yeah,
blame you at all.
yeah.
You were spitting
I
facts. You were
completely
spitting
echo.
facts.
I completely agree. If they had kept their
Yeah.
manager, I would have them at 5 or 4, and they were playing really good soccer at the end, towards the end of the season. They were
Give
like,
us your 10. Give us your 10, Jay. Let's hear about your 10. Oh, you can talk about Chelsea when you get to it too.
yeah.
We're
Okay,
gonna
so
hear your analysis for Chelsea soon.
I lost the page. My bad. So at 10, I have West Ham. And I feel, man, I really loved what West Ham did in the market this season, guys. Like, just to pull up my notes here, like getting like I mean, even like I don't think AW like Wan-Bissaka is not like as good or a great defender, but like it's something that West Ham needs. Like they let in a lot of timely goals last season, and he's just gonna improve like the stuff. Getting a guy like Fulkrug who is just a good goal scorer, just like he gets you some timely goals. He scored like 3, 4 Champions League goals last year for Dortmund. He's netted over 50 in the Bundesliga and stuff like that. I think they just made these like tiny micro adjustments and so many things to like make them a better team. And they finished ninth last season, and they're 10. And I put them at 10, even though they got better. And I think that's not West Ham's fault. It's just to goes to show, I think, how good the rest of the Prem is, like 9 through 1. I and so then let's talk about Brighton. Why I think Brighton might be slightly better than West Ham. Honestly, I caught the Keon bug a little bit. I caught the Keon bug a little bit when Keon was like Brighton's a top 5 team. First of all, Keon, you said they're a top
Wow, in
five
your head.
team, and you put
I
them at
said they
10.
have the
Just want to put that
potential
out
to
there.
finish at
Just want to put
5th.
that out there. I know, but all I'm saying though, but
I'll get to it.
I will say they were injury riddled last season. They made some really good signings this season. Their manager is fantastic. Mitoma is fantastic up front. Like if they can stay healthy, they're gonna be such a tough team to play. Like in any given week in the Prem, like it's gonna be like a top 6 team playing against Brighton. But they're just not consistent. They're gonna let in. They're gonna be like leading Man City 1-0 early, and then they're gonna just give up 2 goals because that's just how Man City plays or something like that. So that's why they're going to drop a decent amount of points, um, but I still think they're like a top 10 team. They're going to play really well, and some key signings that I think like uh I don't know. Maybe you guys. I didn't watch the guy from Arsenal. Like what's his name? Koscielny Dubry play that much. I don't even. He didn't play that much for Arsenal a little bit, but
Didn't play
uh,
enough.
well, yeah. But I mean, he was on the Arsenal squad for a reason. Like he's a good player, but he wants more playtime, and now he's on Brighton. So, um, hopefully, and I mean, I think Brighton was already a decent team. They didn't really let go of anyone huge. I mean, they released Adam Lallana. They released some dead weight, but no one transferred out that was like insanely like really good for them. I think the only one I would say was like decent was okay was like Pascal Gross, and he went to Dortmund. So so that's why I have Brighton at 9. Then Villa, you guys all have Villa higher than 8. Villa's of course like they're a Champions League team this year. They're gonna be really, really good. and Unai Emery is like so good. But I really think that's going to be their pitfall. I think they're not used to be playing a insane like Champions League game in the midweek like Tuesday, and then like having to play a Prem game on Friday. And I don't think they have the depth as a squad to play like good teams on the Prem on a given week, the same week they have a Champions League game. But I don't know. It's really tough for me because I can't even like justify too hard why I put Villa at 8. I don't think it's because Villa's bad. I just think 7-1 is just better. That's just my opinion. But I mean, they loaned out Coutinho. Coutinho was not. I was, and then they got Unana from Everton. Like this, like they made really good signings. I mean, I probably will eat my words about Villa. They might be a top four team again this year, but yeah, that's my 10 through 8. Yeah,
All right. Thank you, Jay. I'm gonna jump into number 10 because I'm really excited to talk about Brighton.
yeah.
I love Brighton. I did say last week I cooked them up. I chefed. I told you guys Brighton is
Cue
gonna
the
do well
clip.
this year, but
Cue the clip.
I I did tell you guys they have a chance of finishing. I think they have a really wide range of outcomes. I feel really sure that Brighton has a really wide range of outcomes because last season they dealt with so many injuries. You guys already mentioned it. I think Estupinian and Ferguson are such good players, and they played so well for them when they were healthy. If Ferguson plays a full season, and that was like a guarantee, I would for sure put them higher than this just on him alone. Um, you know what? They added Minter and Weaver to their squad too, and I think those two players are both great. I think like watching their integration and seeing how big of an impact they can have right away is kind of like a TBD. They look good in the preseason. I watched some highlights. I watched some tape on them. It does look like they want to integrate them quickly and make them starters or players that actually get game time. I think those are their two biggest signings there. I love that they loaned out Buonanotte. I was hyping him up last week, but honestly, like if they didn't see a path for him to be a starter at Brighton this season, which clearly they didn't, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that. He's really young and he's got some rawness to him. He's going to be starting for Leicester. They loaned him to Leicester. He's going to be starting all season. I think that's great for Leicester. I think they must have guaranteed that he's going to be a starter there. And I'm so excited for him. They're just such a well-oiled club. They're such a well-oiled machine. They are run so well. They have good coaching. They have good recruiting. They have great talent acquisition. Great eye for talent.
Good
I'm such a
manager.
fan of their
Yeah.
system that I think they look good for the foreseeable future. I don't even they're one of the they're one of the only Premier League clubs who have never been relegated. Um, which is funny, but this is their first stint in the Premier League. I don't see it happening anytime soon because they make moves to keep themselves competitive and also make money. Like they're not they're selling good players for good fees, and then they're staying at worst mid-level, at worst mid-table. And that was with a ton of injuries last season. Like they would have, I guarantee you, they would have been top 8, 9 at least if they had been healthy last season.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe Ansu Fati took his injury curse back to Spain with him, and maybe Brighton's going to be good this year. Um, as far as health goes, so that's what I'm holding out for. I have them in 10th. I hate that I put them in 10th because I want to put them higher. I'm just still concerned with injuries. They have sold some really important players these last couple seasons. So I'm just waiting to see how they integrate their new players and see if Ferguson, Stupinian, and some other guys can get healthy and stay healthy. West Ham, I feel also really similarly about in terms of a wide range of outcomes. They just put together this epic summer window, and
Mhm.
I don't know if they can fully integrate that squad to be ready to play together this quickly, like as well as you think they would on paper. I don't think they're following the Chelsea model per se, but I do think they just made a ton of signings that are going to take some time to gel.
Yeah.
I really like West Ham. I really do think they could snag 7th, maybe. I wanted to put them over Chelsea and my 7th place team that you'll see in a second really badly. I just didn't. Not yet. It's just my preseason prediction. I feel like 3 weeks in, I'll update this and be, feel like a little more confident. But I like their summer window a lot.
Yeah.
Number 8, Chelsea. I put Chelsea here just like Armand for all the same reasons he did. I don't want to waste too much time talking about it. My notes are, what the fuck are you doing? This club is something else. The only thing I can compliment is their ability to sell youth players. Why is their roster above 40 players in August? Arsenal have 24 for reference. Cole Palmer will be the key this season. So the only nice thing I could say about them is that they sell youth players really well, the same way City does.
But then they buy them
Cole
right
Palmer
back.
is a great player.
Yeah.
Sure, they do. They spend 20 something million on goalkeepers when they already have 7 goalkeepers in their squad. Cole Palmer is a great player, and he's going to be super key for them this season. I think they did make a couple good signings. I don't know if they're going to integrate them and if they're going to be starters, but Pedro Neto's great. I think he'll fit right in, sitting next to Reece James on the bench with injuries. So that's great for them. Dewsbury Hall, probably a backup for their midfield. Maybe start some games when they get some inevitable injuries. I don't know. We'll see. I don't like Chelsea. I want to put them lower. They have so much talent that in theory they should finish top 6. But I feel like 8 is just appropriate right now. I hate that club. I can't stand what they're doing there, and
The bias that they come. I mean, yeah, it's
just
repulsive to just
no,
see
it's
every transfer
disgusting.
news just be Chelsea bought this person, Chelsea bought this, Chelsea sold this, and they think
Oh,
they can buy their way into wins. And I mean, I do have them slightly higher than you guys, but I mean, yeah, it's just I don't think it's the recipe, and they're just fire a manager anytime they're not top 4. Okay, they're gonna have a new manager next season. Mark my words.
yeah. So, you know what, Armand, you're next. Do you want to reveal the next? What are we doing? Are we doing 7-6-5, or are we just doing 7 first?
Do you want to go 7-6-5?
I
Or
think
we could just
7-6-5.
do 7 and then we can do 6-5. It's up to you
Okay.
guys.
Do we
Yeah,
want to
I like
reveal the
that.
top 4 all at the same time?
No, just do 7.
No. We'll
Okay,
do 7, talk about it quickly. We'll do 6-5, talk about it quickly, and then we'll do 4-3, talk about it quickly, and then 2-1.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, 7. By the way, you guys can hear me and stuff, right? We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna reveal 7. Revealing. Okay.
All right.
Come
I'll
on.
go. West
Yeah.
Ham. Just great summer business. I mean, I don't think they've put a foot wrong. I mean, Todibo, Kilminta, and Wan-Bissaka to fortify their back line is great business. Not to mention Edson Alvarez got good news that his injury isn't as severe as they thought it was going to be, so he'll most likely be ready for the season, and he won't miss as many games as they thought they would be. Thought he would. I love Summerville. I think he's going to be a great backup winger. Maybe he'll start for them. I don't know what they're going to do with Kudus or Bowen, but I think he'll be a great change of pace winger to come off the bench for West Ham, and then Fulkrug as well as a striker. I mean, he's clinical. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be the starter over Antonio because I just think he offers much more than Antonio in terms of goal scoring ability as well. I just love West Ham's business. I think they had a really solid squad last year. I think they finished. You said 9th. They finished 9th. And I think with all the business they've done this summer, I'm a big fan of West Ham. I think they're a sleeper top 4 team. I love Julian Lopetegui. I mean, he's managed some of the biggest clubs in the world. I mean, he was at Real Madrid. He was managing the Spain national team. A lot of big clubs wanted him, and now he's at West Ham. And I think West Ham is starting to put the pieces together. I think they have a really, really solid squad. No European football, and the reason why I have them above Newcastle as well is just the summer transfer window. That the business they've done is amazing. I think their squad overall, including their squad depth, is better than Newcastle, and I'm really excited. As long as Paqueta does not get suspended, because he's a huge part of their creative ability, I think West Ham should not comfortably, I lied, should finish 7th or higher, and I wouldn't be surprised to finish top 4. I just like the business is amazing. Like Todibo, just can't speak enough about the business that West Ham's done. I think West Ham might be my second favorite team this year. I just love the business they've done. I think so that's what I'm just gonna keep saying the same thing. But
as I said,
Paqueta is the key. If he doesn't
yeah,
get suspended, they'll be a force to be reckoned with this year, this season.
I'll quickly speak on Chelsea. I mean, to be honest, like everything I've thought, I also think about Chelsea is kind of echoed with you. I mean, like Keon, you had a great, completely agree with what you said. Completely
Yeah,
agree with
we all
Ryan.
said the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For me, the last thing I will say, just, it really does come down. I think Chelsea is they're a big name club. They have so much money, and as much as I hate how much money they have and how many signings they can do, even last year in their worst season, they finished what seventh, eighth, whatever. And I
That wasn't their
really,
worst season.
No,
That wasn't their
no,
worst.
no,
I,
dude. 2 seasons ago, they finished in 12th.
I said one of their, sorry, I meant to say like one of their worst season, like starting, and then they like made up for it by playing like well, like towards the second half. And as I said before, if they'd kept their manager, I think they would be even. I would have put them higher than seven. But I think that Cole Palmer is going to cook still. I think. I mean, if Reece James can stay healthy in the back, hopefully their defense is fine. But yeah, I think they're still gonna they're gonna be in the conference league this year, and I think they're gonna stay there next season unless they win some sort of FA Cup or something, which they quite possibly could. But yeah, that's why I have Chelsea at seven. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Same thing. We agreed with everything about Chelsea. Just disgusting. I'm glad we don't have to talk about them anymore for the rest of this episode, I hope. Um, I have Newcastle in seventh. I have them higher than both of you. You guys put them in. Oh,
No, I
JK.
have them.
I
I
do
have them
not have them
higher.
higher than Jay.
I have them
I
higher.
have them a spot higher than Armand, and Jay has not revealed where he has Newcastle yet. So, uh, Armand said a lot of what I feel about Newcastle. I think they're a good team. I think Tonali is like a new signing. I don't know how I feel about their manager. I do think they might have to replace him if they want to be great. They are funded by I don't want to get into it, but they're funded by like a freaking country, and
Yes.
they
What do you
have
mean a
all the
freaking
money to
country? They
replace
are
that
funded by a
manager.
country. There's no
I had a
freakiness
really
about it.
hard time ranking them. I want to
Yeah,
say I had the hardest time ranking Newcastle.
they're so volatile.
They signed Tonali. I mean, they have Tonali as like a new signing. They signed one other like they signed like Lewis Hall from Chelsea, and
He was
they
there. He was there last year though, wasn't he? On loan.
yeah. You're right. He was there on loan. That's right. He was there on loan. I thought it looked really strange
I
seeing
think it was
his
a loan to
face in
buy.
there,
It
right?
was a loan to buy.
That's right. That's right. And so like they have like nothing really new going for them, and I don't love. I I do. What the thing I like about them, the reason I put them higher than Armand is just genuinely because they have the continuity. Like just integrating Tonali back into the squad won't be that difficult. They don't have a whole lot of distractions this year. They did not make. I
European.
believe they did. Yeah, they did not make European competition, so they really just have the Premier League, and that's why I had a really hard time ranking them because part of me wanted to put them. I said West Ham and Brighton had a large range of outcomes. I think Newcastle have a large range of outcomes too because at one point I put them in fourth and then I slid them down and then I slid them down even more and I think I could see them finishing anywhere between fourth and 10th. It's just crazy that
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about them. I felt like seven was just fair and right somewhere in the middle, and that's why I have them here. So
Yeah.
honestly, I don't have much else to say. If you guys want to reveal 6 and 5 and talk about that, let's get right into it.
Okay.
Europa League spots.
Let's do it. 6 and 5 and 6. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Europa.
Here we are. Armand.
All right.
Armand has
So
Tottenham at 6. Oh my goodness. Is the Arsenal hate coming through right now? Is the Arsenal fandom, the hate towards
no,
Tottenham
it's
coming?
fair. It's
It's
fair. It's
fair.
fair.
All right. I'll talk. I'll just talk.
It's
I
hard
mean,
to predict.
I like Ange. I think overall their squad's really solid, but what we saw last year was the injury bug hit them really hard. That one game against Chelsea, and I think his lack of being willing to change the way he plays the high line, forcing your defenders to cover large amount of ground. I think these injuries are going to be unavoidable in the system he plays, and I don't think they have a clear backup for Van de Ven and Romero. I mean, they have Dragusin, but other than that, Davies. Um, I don't. Their midfield to me is still a bit in the air. I mean, Basuma's apparently going to be in trouble now too. I mean, he just posted a video of him doing laughing gas. I think Bentancur is great, but I think they lack like a true kind of controller in midfield. That kind of like a Declan Rice or a Rodri, one of those players that a team in the top four would have. And outside of Son, I mean, like I said, I think Solanke is a great signing, but his goal scoring is 29 goals in 134 appearances. Um, Out in the EFL and Prem. So I mean, or in the Prem. I mean, his goal scoring record's not great. I mean, what problems? What problems does Solanke solve? Yes, he gives him a striker and allows Son to play on the wing, but when we saw Tottenham at their best, it was Harry Kane at striker. And what did Harry Kane do best? Drop deep, link up with Son. And Solanke is more of a pure goal scorer. And so I think they're still struggling to replace that Harry Kane profile. I mean, sure, they have James Maddison now, which is a player they never really had when they had Harry Kane. But for me, I think if Tottenham stays healthy, I think they are a top 4 team. But for me, when you play a high line and you're forcing your defenders to cover a lot of ground, injuries, hamstring injuries especially, are gonna come by. And I think his lack of kind of controlling games, because when you're playing a high line, you're encouraging balls in behind. You're kind of playing back and forth style football. And I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of his unwillingness to play a little timid sometimes. Just sometimes be okay with the draw. But that's why I have them at 6. Fifth, I have Aston Villa. And I think the signings they made this summer really keep them in a good spot to play both Champions League and Premier League football at a high level, because Unai Emery's used to it. He's done it at Villarreal. He's done it at Arsenal. He's done it at PSG. He's done it everywhere he's gone. Bringing in Onana to replace Luis is huge. They lost Diaby, but they replaced him with Philogene, who was a great talent from the championship, I believe. And then bringing in Maatsen as well as a left back competition for Digne, I think is fantastic. People forget, I think Tyrone Mings tore his ACL last year. He was out all last year. They have a really solid team overall. Their defensive line is going to be solid. I think there are a couple question marks now, especially at right wing. Is Leon Bailey going to be able to replace what Diaby did? Diaby was fantastic for them last year, but I think Leon Bailey will be able to replace what he did just fine. I'm super high on Aston Villa this year. I think they're in for a great season. I think their depth is going to keep them afloat, and I think the fact they have an experienced manager like Unai Emery, who's competed in the Champions League and Europa Leagues with PSG and Villarreal and Arsenal, he'll know how to manage the squad. So I think Aston Villa is going to finish 5th above Tottenham. However, I think for me, Tottenham and Newcastle are my 2 hardest teams to rank. I've had them both in the top 4, but I don't know, just Tottenham's summer business. At first, I was a big fan of it, but the more I looked into it and the more I compared it to other teams, they kind of made me drop down their rankings. But yeah, I hate to wish injuries upon any team, but for me, I backtracking to Tottenham.
I hate to do it, but I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. The way sometimes I was telling Jay this, Arsenal doesn't get a lot of injuries because they control the ball. When you play with the ball and you play your slow tempo football, injuries aren't going to happen. That's why you saw Saliba was able to play X amount of minutes, because we control the ball. Same with City. Tottenham just bomb. You can bomb balls over the top. They don't care. They'll let their defenders run, and that's just not sustainable across 38 games. And especially with how competitive the Premier League is, I think there's about 17 teams that can
and Europa League
play competitive.
And Europa League
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. And they're in Europa League. So yeah, that's my 6 through 5.
Dropping some good ball facts. Yeah, that was good. That was a good. That's some good info.
I'm gonna go to med school next year. Actually, switch my degree real quick after that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're ready. You're also. I felt like I had you on 3x speed right there. You were talking like a. You were talking like
no,
a.
That's good for our
student,
listening. That's good. That's good for our
listening to videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, our listeners are like.
They can't 2x Armand. They can't 2x Armand.
Rubbing one out to you. Yeah. Jay, go ahead. Newcastle and Man United for you.
Sweet. Okay, so I had Newcastle at 6. I know we've all said a lot of things about Newcastle. I had some notes. So if we all remember, in 2022-23, they just conceded 33 goals. And a big reason of that was Sven Botman. Is that how you say his name? I'm so bad at international.
Botman, yeah.
Yeah, and he missed so much of and he's coming back early this season. And I think it's going to give Newcastle such a better, defensive strategy. It improves Newcastle's in and out possession. He's really good in the air, so mobile. And so I really think him coming back early in the season is going to give Newcastle just like a great defense. And we already know how good their attacking is. Isak, they have so much pace up front. Um, and then I think Keon already said Tonali coming back is going to be really good for them. Another player that I really also wanted to mention for them, I know we've talked about Brighton getting so many injury players back, but after I was doing some research, I think Newcastle is kind of like a Brighton type team. I mean, they didn't have a lot of injuries, but they had a lot of key injuries, in my opinion. Joe Linton, I think it's going to give the Newcastle manager like so many more tactical options, especially because I think Newcastle is a very transitional type of the way they play. They're counter-attacking football, and they have just because of how much pace they have, and then so they're gonna have a better defense. They're gonna have someone like Tonali who can like transition that defense, and especially with teams who are gonna play a more possession time. I already know Liverpool's gonna get caught up by Newcastle. We did last year already. Last year we were down 1-0 early in the season because of just how they can counterattack, and Liverpool like to keep possession up front, and then if we're not careful they're going to hit you on that counter. So regardless, that's why I think Newcastle, they're going to be better than last season. I think they make a Europa League spot, and I think they're going to be more consistent than teams like Chelsea and Villa, hence like putting them higher. At five, I have United right outside the top four. Oh, here comes the hate. Here comes the hate. Of course, Jay, the Liverpool fan's gonna have United up five. Look, United has done nothing, in my opinion, to prove to me why they should be a top four team. Like the four teams that are going to be in the top four, we can tell. We don't know the order they're going to put them at, but it's going to be City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham. I have in my top four in whatever order we're going to reveal them. I don't think they're better than those teams. Like everyone's like Ten Hag, Ten Hag. Like Ten Hag is so inconsistent. Sure, they beat City in the FA Cup final, but like if I watched the Community Shield just last week, Rashford's missing like sitters, two, three sitters. Like Bruno might be creating these chances and everything for them, and I mean, they had some like decent signings, Delit, and stuff, but is it gonna make them a top four team? I really don't think so. They're gonna be dropping these games to like Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Everton, even sometimes. I feel like, and that's why they're gonna be outside the top four. I don't think they have that it factor to them as a team. It's been what this is what the third year in the Ten Hag era, or like the third season where he's been managing, and I know it takes time, and like they won one major trophy, the FA Cup, but it does for me. The eye test is everything. I don't really think they pass the eye test to be a top four team. So, yeah, I think United is going to be in the fifth position. So, Keon,
Yeah. I can talk about mine. I put Aston Villa in sixth, and I put Manchester United in fifth. Villa, Armand said a lot of what I wanted to say. However, I want to like emphasize Douglas Luiz is such a huge loss for them. I know they made some good signings, and I can talk about that, but Douglas Luiz is a huge loss for Villa. He's a phenomenal player. I wanted him at Arsenal a couple years ago during one of those winter windows. And you know what? They did replace him. They got Onana, they got Matson, couple good signings for their depth. But I honestly don't know with the competition in Champions League, young team. I know it's Unai Emery. I know he's capable. I know
yeah,
he's in coaching all around. I don't know if they're capable of the push for top four while being in the Champions League. Champions League is just a big toll on young teams, and even if they crash out in the group stage, I'm not sure if they have enough to finish fourth. I could bump them up to fifth if they crash out in the group stage. I do think that's possible. My four through six is kind of it's movable. I could have put anyone anywhere four through six. I felt like I could see the vision for any of my four through six finishing in any of those spots, and I feel good about Villa. I think they're a great team. I had a hard time putting them lower than this because they have signed some great depth. They've got some good money for their outgoings. They are a good team and they're well coached. I'm just putting them in sixth for now. Manchester United, on the other hand, I put them in fifth, just like Jay.
thanks for cooking. Thanks for
I
cooking.
I agree with Jay on a lot of what he said, but I will say that I actually like their signings this summer. I could see them finishing in fourth a little
I
bit more
like it
than Jay
too.
can.
I just want to clarify. I like it too. I just don't think it puts
Sure,
them over the edge. That's my opinion.
sure. They have no European competition this season.
No, they do. They have
They
Europa.
do. They have Europa League. They won the FA Cup.
Oh, sorry. I meant to write not Champions League. So I know in the group stages, at least, knowing United, I don't think they're going to be playing, expending all their best players but depending on the group they get put into. I still think that helps them a little bit compared to being in Champions League last season. I think that'll help them a little bit, and they do have the depth now. They added a few players, and they only lost a couple, but again for good fees. Wan Bissaka, good fee. He who shall not be named, extremely good fee. I honestly think that top four is reasonable for them. I could see it. I just didn't. I couldn't justify putting them above who I put at fourth based on a few other things, but we'll get into it. I think health will be big for their top four hopes. I think if they're healthy, I think they can definitely manage Europa and being in
I
top
wanna
14 in Premier
I want
League.
to call out all the United players. They're not players. United fans saying they're going to be better than Liverpool this season. Please stop. That's all I have to say. Just please
I
stop.
think Rashford's. I feel like a Rashford bounce back season is in the cards, and if so, I do think
Hasn't
they have
started
a
off
chance
well
at
so
top four.
far. Hasn't started off well so far.
No, but I think it's in the cards, so we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see what
yeah.
happens. You guys ready to reveal 4 and 3?
Woo! Are we going four and
Do
three
it.
or are we going one by one?
Let's go 4-3.
Okay, four
I
and
think
three.
4 and 3 is okay. Yeah.
Okay, 4 and 3. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
Let's go, Armand. Let's talk about it. You want to piggyback off what me and Jay were just talking about?
Yeah.
Here, I don't know. I just think United always. You gotta think the way I look at it. Their worst year ever in the Prem, on 60 points. They finished 6 points back at Tottenham and 3 points back at Chelsea. Now you add Euro. I mean, he's out for 6 weeks, but you add Delict, Mazuari, Xerxes, Mount's basically like a new signing.
Mm.
Um, Ugarte's been held out of PSG training. I
Nah.
mean, he's been rumored to United. I think if they get Ugarte, they're gonna be a great, because I think I don't like Casemiro on their midfield currently, but Ugarte replacing Casemiro, I think that elevates them even more.
Yeah, it does.
I think their defensive depth now is amazing. I mean, last year they were putting out lineups of Johnny Evans and Casemiro in their defense, and to be able to still finish only 6 points back at your Europa League spot is like amazing when you think about like the type of defensive lines you're playing. Johnny Evans, who literally signed in the team in
It's crazy.
preseason just
Yeah.
I think Rashford's in for a big bounce back year. I like Hoyland. He still has to work on his goal scoring, but I mean he's shown that he can get hot and go on these goal scoring things. I think Xerxes going to be a good player for them as well. I mean, definitely will help give Hoyland some competition as well. But I think Kobe Mainoo as well, another year Premier League underneath his belt, is going to be huge for them as well. But again, I think a lot of it comes down to being healthy as well. I mean, Lissandro Martinez being healthy is going to be huge for them. Luke Shaw's already injured again. Who could have saw that coming? But if he can stay at least healthy for 50% of the season, Delot as well staying healthy, because he's probably their most versatile defender overall. A lot of this hinges on the fact that I think they are going to get Ugarte and a defensive midfielder to replace Casemiro. But even if they don't, I still think I'd tilt them top four just based on the fact that I think they got extremely better this offseason in the transfer window. And I think Ten Hag finally has gotten the players he's wanted in. And hopefully, especially with the inclusion of Jadon Sancho again, we saw what he did at Dortmund as well. I think he's going to be a big play for their wing play, especially backing up Garnacho, Rashford, or maybe even starting on the right wing over Anthony. So I think United are going to surprise a lot of people this year and finish fourth. However, I wouldn't also be surprised to finish as low as eighth due to injuries or just Rashford doesn't have the breakout season I expect. But people forget 2 years ago Rashford was also probably the top three winger in the world. So I think if he can get back to that level, he'll be United will be a very good, very, very, very strong team, and they'll be back to their best.
I'm glad you
Liverpool,
talked about their defense too. I'm glad you talked about their defense because that the injury bug hit their defense so hard last season that there's bound to be improvements just on that alone.
I think Liverpool third. I'm not going to touch on it too much just because probably Jay will ramble on for like 10 minutes and I have to leave soon. But Liverpool, I was going to have them out of the top four, but realistically, I know they haven't made any signings, but I think they are going to make some signings in the next couple of weeks, which I think will make them fine. I think
We don't
overall,
need
looking at their
signings.
squad, I think overall looking at their squad, they have depth everywhere. Um, that I think I'm comfortable, like Trent, Connor Bradley, Simicas, what's his name? Robertson. You also have Kwanzaa, who's looked really good. I just think they need a true six or at least an eight because I don't think
1000%.
McAllister's position in the six
1000%. Not
great.
Endo either.
But yeah,
1000%.
their attack is really solid as well. So I just think Liverpool overall is just one of those teams that's going to be hard, even with their first season under Arne Slot. I mean, they've looked good in preseason, but I'm not going to touch on it too much. I think Liverpool. I mean, it's going to be firmly in that third position because I just don't think they. I just think Arne Slot's experience in the Prem is going to hurt them in a title run-in. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my top four. Fourth and third.
Okay. Well, at 4, I have Tottenham. Tottenham's again one of those teams like for me it's a manager like I really do believe in their manager. I think he's really really good. And they made the key signing of Solanke just like recently, which I think is really really going to help their team. Like I'm not saying like one signing is going to make this huge difference, but that was like their biggest signing so far from Bournemouth, and I really think he's going to help the team a lot. I mean, last season they lost Kane last season, and they still were fighting for a top 4 spot. Like, if it wasn't for like those last few games where they like basically I think choked, right? I mean, what was they against City? Didn't they play City? Like it might have not looked close on paper. I think City won 2-0, 3-0. I forgot.
Yeah,
2-0,
two
but
nil.
Tottenham had a lot of chances and they were I mean, like a lot of the burdens coming on Son to score the goals. And I think that might be the reason they might not make top four. Like they need some more timely goals, more goal scorers. But I do think, I think another, like, the more time with their manager, they have a really good squad. They, depth wise, maybe. And so, like, again, they could be injured and like, and not make top four, but I really do think um, they'll be back to like Champions League soccer this year. And I won't touch more. I feel like Keon's gonna have, I feel like Keon likes to keep his friends close, but his enemies closer. So I think he has a lot of words about Tottenham. But Liverpool, like, what can I say about the lads? I think I'm so glad we all. I'm not smoking the rah-rah here. We all have him at third, and I'm not smoking the rah-rah where I'm like, oh, they're gonna win a title. But I think our squad, I agree. We have not made signings this season. Ah, man, if we had signed Zubimendi, I would be on cloud nine right now. But we didn't make. We do need. I think the one key thing missing is a number 6. They've been talks about Gravenberch being a 6 or like learning from Endo. Like it's just not gonna happen. We need to sign a 6. Who do I think it's gonna be? No idea. But Liverpool's kind of made their position firm. They only want to sign players that are gonna make an immediate impact onto the squad. And they're like there's only like 10 players in the world who could do that right now. So I don't know. But I still think we have such a good squad. Like up front, I mean, Nunez is inconsistent, but he's still so good. Like, did you see how good he played in the Copa America? Salah, amazing. Like, come on, he's been consistently scoring goals and assisting so much. We have Jota on the left, Luis Diaz on the left, in the middle. Like, there's I. It's such a good squad. I think Arnie is a really good manager. He's just a tactician at heart, and he has like some of these players. I mean, at Fenerud, I don't think he had the level of players of like some of the visions he had. Is he going to be as good as Klopp? I don't know. It's big, big, big shoes to fill. Of course, like you're gonna success one of the best managers Liverpool's ever had. But I don't think we're gonna be worse than a top 4 team. I think we're still so solid. I like name me. So yeah, I won't talk more about like it's just I could go on, but I really I hope we're close to the top 2 teams. I hope we're right there in the mix. But a third, another year of Champions League football is amazing on a first year new manager. Yeah.
I also don't have too much to say, honestly. Tottenham, good signing window. It could become a great signing window if they got Eze. Mikey Moore, Youth Player of the Year. He's going to be gunning for Youth Player of the Season over there. I don't have much else to say. I think I think they're a good team. I think one more year under Ange, and they're going to be only better. I don't have much else to say about that. That's who I had in fourth. And third, I have Liverpool, like the rest of you. New coach, new system. They had a solid preseason. The Arsenal game was very entertaining. I wasn't too butthurt about it, but they did look good. Not sure if they'll be in the race come March. I'll say that much. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to be in the top two race, championship race, to finish first. But I do think they will be on that second tier once again, kind of separated from the teams fighting for fourth. I think they'll be on their own little pedestal between City/Arsenal and Spurs, United, Villa. I like their team. I like their new coach. I just think it'll take a little bit of time to gel,
Yeah.
maybe. But I do really think there's a solid club, and I don't, unless they get a ton of injuries, which never wish that on any team. I don't think they're going to have any problems maintaining third or Champions League spot.
Okay.
You guys ready for
Well,
top two?
well, we all have the same top two teams, but let's see who we have winning the Prem in 2024. Here we are. Wow. Of course you both do. Of course you both do. Why would you not? Why would you not? Okay,
Oh,
Arman.
that's
Tell
so.
me why. Since 2000, what, 2003 or 5? Arsenal, when
3.
was it? 3, 2003. It's been 22 years since Arsenal have won the Prem. Why are they winning the Prem this year, in your opinion?
Because what's going to happen is City's going to get hit with 115 charges, and
Okay, you
they're
can't
going to be
predict
forced.
that. You can't predict that. You can't predict that. You
No,
can't.
I think Calafiori coming in is huge for us because Zinchenko alone probably lost us 2 or 3 games last year, especially that Aston Villa game on the road. I was at Panera Bread studying for an exam. I literally told my friend Zinchenko starting will concede within 10 minutes. And what happened? Balling behind McGinn or Bailey scores. I forget who, but it's on
Yeah.
Zinchenko's side. I think Alfieri coming in is going to help huge. Zinchenko's look good in preseason, however. So hopefully, Arteta knows which games to use him. I think including and Varney as well as an 8 will help Martinelli get back to his best. Or signing Marino and having and Varney learn from him, I think is huge. So I think there's still 1 or 2 signings needed to be made from Arsenal before I feel really confident that we'll win the league. But just based off right now, City losing Julian Alvarez I think is bigger than people think. The Savinho I think is a great signing, but their wingers are already so good. I don't see how that really helps them. But I think losing Julian Alvarez is a huge loss for them. And I just think Arsenal overall the continue on. I think Arteta's learned as he's gone on, and I think he's ready to finally take the title from Manchester City. However, it is probably Pep's last season, so I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah,
City won. I mean, pays off the
yeah.
rest, a little money here and there. 115
I
charges was 115, but I think it's Arsenal's. I don't think it's Arsenal's title to lose, but if Arsenal loses, I think Arteta's going to be on a very tight string because I mean he's been so close and
love.
yet no silverware for 2 years. I think a prem is needed for himself to stay as an Arsenal manager, even though that could be very harsh.
Prem or
I just
Champions
think,
League this year? Prem or
yeah.
Champions League?
Are you asking which one I want?
No, I think Arteta
Uh,
has to win one of them.
yeah,
Like,
I think he has to win one. But yeah, that's what I think. So yeah, I just think Arsenal overall. I think the squad's finally coming together. I think Mikel Merino will be signed in the next 2 weeks, and I think Havertz is going to be. This is a bold take. I think Havertz is going to be top 5 in goal scored this year. I think he showed it last year how good he can be. I think he's going to show why we paid Chelsea 65 mil for him. And yeah, I just think Arsenal overall, we're ready. I think this is our year. I think our time has come to take the title and run the Prem finally. 3 in a row starting now.
I have one sentence for you. I have one sentence for you. Life, death, taxes, Manchester City winning the Prem. That's all I have to say to you, my guy. It's can Man City win a 5th Prem in a row? Has anyone even won 5 Prems? United didn't win 5 in a row, right? It was only 4.
No team
Yeah,
has.
no team has. It's Pep's last season, guys. Man City haunts me in my dreams. When it comes to February, and we're leading the title. Like you guys have been there in the last 2 seasons. You're leading the Prem. We were leading the Prem in February. and we're like, we just need City to drop a game or two. It doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in the last 4 years. I remember we lost the Prem by 1 point twice. They're just so good. And like, I know Julian Alvarez, he left, but it doesn't matter. De Bruyne was hurt for a big period of time for City last season. And he's arguably way more important to City than Julian Alvarez ever was. And yet they just win games. I don't know what it is. It's Pep. It's the Pep magic. He's a tactician. It's just, if you ever need tactical advice, you go to City. And like, I think you can't bet against City. Um, you can't bet against City this again. As much as I want, like, I would rather have Arsenal win the league. I think this. Actually, I take that back. You guys' fan base is a little bit like they would never they'd be too happy. But I, I'm not even going to talk about signings or like between City and Arsenal just because uh, Arsenal, of course, like they're solid. They're such a good team, but I think you can't bet against Pep and this team. I think Holland's gonna win a Golden Boot again this season. I think their defense is just so good. It's just like they're such a solid team, and no, they have 115 charges for a reason because they're just so good. Uh, not because they're good, but like just how much money they've like spent on the team.
All right,
Because
you're done
Yeah,
talking.
you
You're just
sound
rambling
Keon,
now. So you're
Keon,
just
Keon,
like
Keon.
saying random
Let's be
things.
honest here.
no,
Keon,
I
Keon,
meant to say okay.
that was
Bruh, I don't even want to
stop,
hear it.
stop.
Okay.
No,
All right, all right.
what?
Arsenal,
No.
look,
Keon,
look,
let's hear
look,
Keon talk.
look. Odegaard, player of the season. Saliba and Saka both in the best 11. Calafiori, transfer of the season. Martinelli, huge comeback season. Timber, a huge boost for the bench, a huge boost now that he's injuries behind him. Tomiyasu, hopefully he gets healthy in the next month or two. Arsenal is ready. This is the season. They are ready. You know, battling in Champions League is not easy, but now they have a season of experience behind them of doing Champions League and fighting for Premier League title. I think that'll help a lot. I think it really will. The experience will help. The pain will help. I don't know how much more pain a young Bukayo Saka can take, but that man is so strong because he keeps barely losing with England, barely losing with Arsenal. It's his time. It's his time. They're going to take one of those, they're either going to, if they don't take this Prem title, which I do think they are going to take it this season, we need a Champions League final and we need an FA Cup at the minimum for me. Um, I don't want to hear any excuses this time around. I think they're ready. I really do wish they, could. I hope the window ends with a couple more sales and maybe an incoming striker. That would be awesome. I would love that, or at least one more incoming after 2-3 sales. I think Nketiah, Nelson, Ramsdale. At least two of those three should be sold, and if they are, I believe they should spend that money immediately on fortifying their attack. If that happens, it's a lock. It's a lock. Okay, I'm ready to say that. I feel really good this season. Last season, I didn't pick them mentally to win. I always figured they had a good chance of finishing second again. I know it's Pep's last season, but I'm ready. My only note on City was title hangover question mark. Not really. It's going to be close as usual.
It's gonna be
Because
close.
City
It's gonna be
suck and
close.
they're freaking annoying and
Hey, and
yeah,
if the 115 charges
frustrating.
come
But
through and they get a minus 30,
I don't
congrats on the
even want to
congrats on the title.
I don't want to bank on that. I hate them, but I don't want to bank on that. I think if anything, their charges will affect them in the future or in hindsight or whatever in
Yeah.
retrospect. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm ready to say that this is their season, so that's what I'm going with. And that was a good episode, boys.
Well, yeah,
Prediction
great,
pod over.
great. Well, in about 9 months or something, we'll know who was right and what we're thinking. Maybe we'll do a recap of the Preds predictions. We're gonna keep this template. And we're gonna see who was smoking the rara and who was drinking that Smartie juice Kool-Aid.
We'll come back
Um,
to this for sure. We'll come
for
back to this
sure.
for sure.
Sounds good.
Guys, the Prem season starts in less than 48 hours. We'll have the first game of match week 1 done. Yeah, by the time you're maybe seeing some of
Yeah,
these clips on socials, you'll know the result of the United game,
yeah. So
United Fulham game
we'll be
1.
back next week. We'll be back next week, earlier probably next week, with a full match one recap and like what we're thinking, and we're gonna have some new segments for you guys. But yeah, Hopefully, you guys enjoyed a great first annual prediction episode. And then until next week, we'll see you guys then. Peace out.
Thank you. Peace out.